Welcome to Shenkman Education. My name is Marty Shenkman. This is a really important topic, especially if you have young children. So a guardian, everyone knows what a guardian is, I hope, but I'll just say it. It's if you die, who should be responsible legally to help take care of your kids? Now there's two different types. You can have guardian of the person, which is who makes personal decisions, school, medical, etc. Guardian of the property, who's in charge of the kid's money, the money for the kid. That doesn't really happen so often. Most people just name a general guardian because you put your assets, which you should, in a trust and name trustees to take care of the money for the child. You need to think, and it's often not given enough thought, who's the guardian, who's the trustee. You don't want two people in each position that don't get along. I don't think you always want to have, and I'd probably prefer you don't have, the same person as the guardian and the trustee, because there's no checks and balances. If you have your brother as the guardian and your sister as the trustee, and assuming they get along and aren't going to scratch each other's eyes out, you got to check and balance. If you name a close family friend as the trustee and you name another friend as a guardian, you got checks and balances. If either person is not doing their job right, there's someone to keep an eye out. When you name guardians, name one person, don't name two. You can't name Jane and John just because they're married, because now who's the guardian? And what if they get divorced? And if they get divorced and they're both named guardian, do they have a lawsuit over figuring out who's guardian? Name one person at a time. If you want a couple because you think it's better that the child or children be raised in a family environment, I would still name one person, but say they can only serve while married to and name their spouse. Got to be careful doing that. What happens if the spouse dies or get divorced 10 years after you've died? So your kid is now 10 years old and been raised almost their entire life by this couple. One of them dies or they get divorced and now they have to go to a different family. So keep in mind, you got to think through what you want to do with that. What if you're divorced? Who do you name as guardian? Well, unless your ex-spouse is really bad, the courts are going to favor naming the parent of that child as guardian. So come to terms with it, figure it out. That's all the more reason it's so important, like I said earlier, have a trust to be independent with an independent trustee to manage the money for the child. If your ex-spouse is the guardian, you at least have some input and control because you've named somebody that will be in charge of the money. And make sure that you pick somebody and that they understand how you feel about how you want your child raised. Your ex-spouse may feel differently. So you got to name trustees with that kind of thought. What about successor guardians if you're divorced? If you're divorced and you want to name a successor guardian, it'd really be better if you speak with your ex-spouse, even if that's hard. Because let's say you have to name your ex-spouse first, because the courts are going to do it anyhow. Who's the successor? But in your ex-spouse's will, he or she may name a different successor. So now what happens if you both die? Probably unlikely event, but what a disaster for the child. Consider talking to your ex and agreeing on who the successor guardians will be if you can do that, if you can. Anyhow, there's lots of really important decisions in how you name a guardian, how you legally formulate it. Use one person, don't name a couple. If you want a couple, you can specify it, but be very careful what that may mean. Definitely set up a trust, name an independent trustee. If you're divorced, you got additional complications that maybe you can deal with, maybe you can't, but it's at least worth thinking about. Too often people just quickly name somebody and there's not enough thought. Here's a final issue. What if your guardian is not very wealthy or successful and you're very wealthy and successful? So now they're going to be raising the kid. Where are they living? How are they getting paid for? How are their expenses being paid for? So you may want to consider what goes into a trust. I've even had, and I thought it was fascinating, clients over the years where they've actually bought an insurance policy, inexpensive term policy of $1 million, a couple $1 million on their lives to benefit the person named as a guardian on the outside chance that if something happened, this would help the guardian financially and make them feel more comfortable. Do what makes sense for you, but give it a lot of thought. Too often this stuff is just treated, because it's a very painful discussion, treated too superficially, and that doesn't necessarily work out. At any rate, thank you for joining me. I hope that this information is helpful to any parents with young children. And keep in mind that any of the information on Shenkman Education is for educational purposes only. Don't take any legal action without appropriate professional guidance. And that may be an insurance consultant, a financial consultant, and a lawyer or others. Thank you again for joining us. For more information, see www.shenkmaneducation.com. Thank you.